you type in any search term, there are so many brands competing for your attention. There's paid search ads, there's shopping ads, there's the sponsored ones and the organic ones. It's kind of crazy as a consumer. And then you put your marketing hat on. It's like, how do I try to stand out within that? It's a really, really crazy place to operate.
Hello, and welcome to The Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob DeMars, our chief product architect.
Hello.
Hello, and we're joined by Jordan Rossler, our director of analytics.
Yes. Hey guys, good to see you again.
Jordan, welcome back.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We're back with Jordan again and our thoughts on some recent marketing news, always trying to root our opinions in data, research, and what drives business results. Today, our topic is search engine marketing, or SEM. We're going to cover what's going on in search, how should a brand who is committed to marketing effectiveness think about their search investments, and even how might a modern marketer reduce their dependence on search, and why would they want to? The topic for this week, it was inspired by some recent news that marketers should probably be aware of, and that is two massive antitrust trials happening right now with Google and Amazon. So let's start with Google. When we're recording this podcast, their antitrust trial is just over halfway done, but it won't be over until the end of November. I found a great article from Diane Bartz for Reuters, so I'm going to use that to summarize what has happened so far. To start, the U.S. government accused Google of breaking antitrust laws with the tactics it uses to dominate search, and there are just a few headlines from the trial so far that are pretty interesting. For one, witnesses from Verizon and Samsung and even Google itself testified that Google has made $10 billion in annual payments to ensure it's the default search engine on smartphones and browsers. There's been some discussion that this dominance has led to higher prices for advertisers as a result. There were testimonies that Google has dominated the search market and increased prices for the last 10 years. Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella testified that Google's access to search queries will help Google dominate AI because AI requires computing power or servers and data to train software, and Google has plenty of all of that. But Google, they have defended their search product, essentially saying, hey, we're the number one product because we're just that good. They said their search engine is wildly popular because of its quality, and that dissatisfied users can easily switch. And this was backed up by Apple, who uses Google as the default search engine on iPhone. Apple said they had meetings with both Microsoft and DuckDuckGo, but found their solutions were inadequate. Google also said that being the default does not actually mean users will stick around if they are dissatisfied. Google's lead lawyer gave the example of Microsoft's Bing once being the default on some Verizon phones plus BlackBerry and Nokia devices, but this ended in 2011 because users bypassed Bing and ended up doing most of their searches on Google.
Well, and Elena, Google flexed their big bad Google muscles on us back in 2006, if you remember that. At the time, we were specializing in radio. In fact, like 1 in 10 radio commercials at the time came from Marketing Architects. And our platform was super easy for radio stations to plug into and for advertisers to receive kind of a level of analytics that was pretty unheard of at the time. And Google came in and bought our number one competitor, DMark, and basically started buying up inventory with an exclusivity agreement to try to block us out from being able to compete in the space anymore. I mean, they literally saw us as an enemy where they would like kick us out of trade show booths when we would show up at the radio conventions. In this case, Google couldn't gain any traction, even with all of their money and their muscles. They could really never replicate our media buying approach, which we later modified to our current TV inventory management solution. So they ultimately sunsetted it. But man, we were sweating there for a minute with just, it's hard to compete with someone with that depth of resources.
Right. And that was all the way, you said 2006?
2006, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that they had that power even back then. Like you hear that Google's after your industry and it's just complete panic. And I can't believe, I mean, Google's only didn't they have their 25th birthday? And it seems like they've been around forever. But yeah, that just shows, I mean, how nervous someone like DuckDuckGo must be. Thanks, Rob, for adding that in. And so if this story wasn't enough for marketers to follow, there's another antitrust lawsuit right now that I also wanted to quickly summarize, and this one concerns Amazon. I did find an article. This was from Hallelujah Hadero from ABC News that summarizes what we need to know so far. This lawsuit accuses Amazon of preventing sellers from selling their merchandise at lower prices on other websites. So this hurts brands because, according to the FTC, sellers are squeezed through various fees and they're punished for offering lower prices on other sites. Essentially, the FTC needs to prove that first, Amazon is a monopoly, and second, it's using its dominance to prevent competition from flourishing in the marketplace. Amazon is estimated to control about 40% of the US e-commerce market, and the FTC is saying that Amazon is exercising monopoly power in this market. Arguments in Amazon's favor have pointed out that consumers still buy over 80% of all retail products in physical stores, and online, Amazon has faced growing competition from retailers like Walmart, Shein, Temu. And even with Etsy and Shopify, they've enabled small businesses to sell directly to consumers. A final decision in this trial likely won't come for a few years, and there's a similar lawsuit filed last year by California against Amazon, and that won't go to trial until 2026. But I wanted to open the episode by talking about both these cases because the combination of them, I think, is significant for advertisers. There hasn't been a lot of case law around this kind of monopolization for the past few decades. And depending on how this goes for both Google and Amazon, there could be both positive and negative impacts for consumers and advertisers. All we really know for sure is we can expect things in online advertising to continue to shift and change, which isn't really news for a modern marketer. Now, I don't think it's wise for us to try to comment on legality here. We really should have invited Rita, our head of legal, on the pod if we wanted to do that. So let's just stick to marketing and not what we think about these companies or the cases in general. So search, it's a huge channel for marketers, and Google and Amazon are the two biggest players. And their ad revenues for search this year are $57 billion and $24 billion respectively, according to eMarketer. For context, Microsoft and Apple, they're in third and fourth place, and they just have $5 billion in ad revenue projected for this year. So any changes to how Google and Amazon operate will be significant for marketers, but I wanted us to talk about why marketers have become so dependent on search in the first place. So Jordan, you came on the show a few months ago and we talked about marketing measurement's dark funnel, and we thought you'd be a perfect person to bring back to cover this topic because you have extensive experience measuring the impact of marketing for all different sorts of brands. So let's start off. In your experience, what's the relationship between our advertisers and search as a channel typically like?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think pretty much all of our advertisers, past, present, and prospective, have search as probably their highest spend and highest performing channel. And it's really not too much of a surprise. I think if you just take off your marketer hat and put on your consumer hat for a second, you think about anytime you want to go buy something, research something, narrow down your options, you're going to Google, you're going to Amazon, you're going to these massive search engines just to learn. And ultimately, you're going with very high intent. And so the conversion is great. You're only paying for those clicks. And so if they click on you, then you're paying. And then that kind of unlocks the whole retargeting funnel of social and display ads and things like that. And so search can do a ton of powerful things. And there is a ton of high reliance. There's a lot of spend, but there's a lot of performance, and it's kind of rightfully so, because that's how we consumers go to purchase, and marketers are just responding accordingly.
Jordan, I was reading something from, I think it was Aaron Burke-Bask, about search being like digital shelf space. And I was wondering if you'd agree with that. Do marketers just have to be there if you want to compete? I mean, I think that's part of what's come up in the trial is a lot of advertisers, they don't even have an option. If you want to succeed online, it's almost like just buying your spot on a supermarket shelf. It's hard for people to find you if you're not buying search ads.
100%. I mean, so many categories and so many people are going online solely or abandoning those physical locations because they're just not turning over the profits that they need. I think we have clients that are trying to do both. And what we've seen is that those brick and mortar locations, it just has such a small radius, and you need to open up so many stores, because if people can just have something delivered to them next day, why would I drive more than 20 or 30 minutes down the road to get it? If it's not super close to them, they're not going to go and get it. And so you really do have to be in that online shelf space. And it's just such a red ocean being there. You type in any search term, there are so many brands competing for your attention. There's paid search ads, there's shopping ads, there's, the sponsored ones and the organic ones. It's kind of crazy as a consumer. And then you put your marketing hat on. It's like, how do I try to stand out within that? It's a really, really crazy place to operate.
Yeah. And now we have new search platforms, and like TikTok is now like a search platform that as a marketer, you might have to worry about. And it's not just Google and Amazon, even though they're the two biggest in terms of ad revenue. And I know that too, deciding to be on Amazon is not really easy either, right? Because you'd think, all right, if they're 40% of e-commerce, I should be there. Because if you're not there, you're going to be missing out. But I've heard that it's not always easy to be on Amazon either. So that must be kind of a hard choice for brands too. Just like, where digitally do I want to show up, like where it makes the most sense for me?
We have had multiple conversations with multiple clients of ours that have products that would make sense to be on Amazon, and they have pretty high resistance levels, at least at this point, for being on there, because they want to maintain that this is our brand. It's not us and Amazon, it's us. And we all people coming to our website and buy our stuff. Then there's obviously the cost implications and things like that of some of the pie going to Amazon. So we'll see what the transition looks like here in the next few years. And maybe some of these antitrust things will impact that in some way, shape, or form. But it's definitely a really big conversation for brands, especially ones that have kind of started small and made it this whole way on their own and wanting to keep their own hands on the steering wheel and no one else's. But it'll be interesting to see what happens as we go on.
Yeah, I don't blame them, especially that part of the trial. I didn't know that Amazon, disclaimer, I'm not saying this is true or not, but there's accusations that they restrict sellers. So you have to offer your lowest prices on Amazon. I mean, that's just so difficult. I understand they want to offer the lowest prices to the consumers, but I can see why some of our advertisers might have some resistance to joining a platform like that. Jordan, speaking of our advertisers, search competition has to vary greatly by category, right? How have you seen prices change or competition change? Like, do you think your relationship with search is going to be different according to your category, or do you think everyone's pretty much battling the same things?
I think it's going to be similar and different, kind of depending on the circumstance. I think all of our brands are very competitive on search in one way, shape, or form, but the way or with who they're being competitive is what changes. Some of our brands have one main competitor and that all they care about is them and their terms and trying to bid on their terms. And it's kind of this bidding war back and forth. Other times it's such a fragmented area where you're not really worried about any specific brand in particular. You're just trying to have something that will get consumers to click yours and not someone else. And that's where you're competing more on the price or the promotion or something like that to just stand out amongst the crowd. But I think all of them are very focused on it and have their own whole massive teams working on it. And then we as a TV agency and as the analytics experts try to come alongside that and just accent what they're doing and how they're thinking about it. But a lot of times it's kind of first and foremost on their priority list, regardless of the category, just because competition is so high in so many different ways.
And a lot of marketers, like you just said, they don't really have a choice but to invest millions in paid search. It makes sense that it's their number one channel. It just ends up being the cost of competition for them online. But Jordan, we have seen clients decrease their dependence on search, right? Like there are ways that you can do that.
Yeah, 100%. Obviously, we come in as a TV agency and our specialty is to increase awareness at the top of the funnel and introduce people to you as a brand. And so I think as you think of yourself as a marketer, as trying to promote your brand, really getting people to fall in love with your brand and your brand name so that their online searches don't just become almonds, but it becomes nuts.com almonds. And then all of your shopping ads come to the top. All of your links come to the top. I mean, we know from past experience working with Terminix that the term termite cost them $42 for someone to click. And if you could get them to search Terminix, then that saved them a ton of money every single click. And that adds up very quickly when you think about how many people are searching for termite and pest control at a given point in time. And so even just changing it from a very generic keyword to a branded keyword reduces your dependence on it, but also reduces your costs and increases your performance there. And the beautiful thing about TV is almost all the traffic we're driving is directly to your URL or through an organic search or through branded paid search. And you're not going to watch a TV ad for a nuts.com, for example, and just Google almonds because of it. You're probably going to go directly to the URL in that case, or throw in nuts.com to your search term. which really helps you out as a brand. And that's kind of the beautiful thing that we've seen TV do for a lot of our customers, in addition to just getting people to recognize and fall in love with you as a brand, so that if they are in that purchase state where maybe they haven't just watched a commercial and maybe they aren't searching for you specifically, but your link is one of the 3 or 4 links at the top of the Google search, well, now they're more prone to click yours because they recognize it, they like you, and they're reminded. And I think TV is another great way of building that brand. What better way to tell a story about why people should fall in love with you, not just because of the need that you can meet, but how you do it and the quality, all of the differentiators about your brand. You can really tell that story well through TV. And that can be a winning strategy in this really bloody ocean of online search, and make you a little bit more of a category of one, or increase people's affinity towards your brand so they're clicking your stuff and not your competitors.
That's nuts how much more expensive Termite was than Terminix. And I can see how, maybe 10, 15 years ago, you could be a brand that could just be purely online and just become like hyper optimized in search. But now it's gotten so much more expensive, so much more competitive, which is part of what these trials are about. You can't do that anymore, right? Like, I would think long term, that's not a viable strategy to just be relying on buying specific keywords. Like, you're going to have to build your brand eventually.
Absolutely. There's way more people bidding on and fighting over very generic keywords for your category rather than on your brand name. And so, especially if you can get people to go directly to your URL, you pass it completely. And that's probably the main way that TV can help kind of reduce the burden or the dependence of paid search. But like I say, even just throwing in that brand name to the search term can do wonders for kind of making you rise to the top and cutting out a lot of your competitors.
Right. So TV has sort of this double benefit. On the one hand, right away, people, when they see your spot, they're going either to your website or they're searching for your brand name rather than generic search terms. So you're kind of bypassing the Google tax or just sort of the digital tax. But then you're also building your brand in the future. So down the road, if someone is like typing into Google and you're dealing with the competition between lots of sponsored ads, they would be more likely to see, to pick you because you tend to buy brands that you're more familiar with.
Absolutely. And I think the cool thing too is those impacts are not just, start, stop right when you start or stop TV. We just did a test with a client where they went off air for a few months and we kind of gradually saw paid search traffic dip, which to me showed people were still engaging with those paid search ads because of TV days, weeks, and even months after they shut off, as opposed to, they went off TV yesterday and I completely forgot about them and I'm never going to engage with paid search again. There's kind of that lasting, we talk about as kind of a snowball effect of TV, and that takes a while for that snowball to melt, right? Once you've got it big enough. And I think that effect is really seen on the paid search playing field.
Jordan, this might be a question for Rob too. When you set up a campaign and you're choosing the call to action, say you had them call a phone number or send a text or go to a URL, do people usually do that? Or do you find that people are still typing into search? Is there always a web traffic lift? Or does the CTA, does that really change how people respond to an ad?
One opinion on that, you'll see people that will use unique URLs sometimes for campaigns. And so when let's just say it's Coke for a minute, and you say, for this campaign, we're going to do trycoke.com with a browser. As you begin to type in the brand name, it will try to auto-populate the URL, which is actually a great thing because that keeps you in that organic space. It recognizes you as the leader in it. So I think that's important when you're considering doing a unique URL. If you're Coca-Cola, you don't do try Coke because then it's going to become more complicated. You'll probably end up in a search result and then you're not going to get found. But yeah, people are generally typing in your brand name right into the URL. So if you can take advantage of the auto-populate that the browser will do, that's a good thing. Jordan, would you agree?
Yeah, I would say we've done some studies on this because we have a lot of clients that have done a unique URL type call to action. And what we found is if we look at all the traffic that comes in the few minutes right after an airing, it's about 10 to 20% of the people that actually end up going and fully typing in that unique URL and going to the site. The rest of them is, to your point, Elena, a combination of, sure, some of them go directly to the generic URL of the site as a whole, but there are also people that are going via just an organic Google search and getting to the website that way. So even if we tell them specifically one way, there are still a lot of people out there that end up just start typing it into their phone. To your point, Rob, if they see a Google search that matches what they want, they're just going to click it, go through that. Maybe it's organic, maybe it's paid, maybe it's direct, or maybe it's that direct URL. But yeah, even in those instances, people are still kind of getting to the site in a variety of ways.
Sorry, I kind of took us off topic a little bit, but I do think it's interesting because it just shows how, as marketers, you can kind of try to predict what consumers are going to do and try to tell them what to do. But often they're going to do whatever they want. And so being prepared for that is important. So if I can kind of summarize us here, we started off by talking about the antitrust trials. Who knows what's going to happen there? I mean, some of the things I've heard, it seems like nothing might happen, but still interesting to pay attention to because these are the things that the government has their eye on. And we all know that digital has been affected by different privacy changes and different regulations. So that seems important to marketers. And then talking about search, as Jordan told us, search is super important to every marketer, pretty much regardless of category. So one way you could make search more effective is by investing in brand channels. And we're experts in TV. So we talked a lot about TV's impact on a consumer and how they find your brand. But if you can build your brand, if more people can go directly to you, as opposed to searching generic keywords, you're going to be more successful and be able to decrease that cost and decrease some of that Google tax in the long run. That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Ayana Claphockey for producing the show and Michael Hingle for editing. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you find our show valuable, please leave us a rating and review. Now go forth and build great marketing.
I'm so much smarter having spent time with Jordan. Thank you.
It's an honor to talk with you guys. I appreciate you having me on.